The good folks at the Midas Touch Network recently had a look at some of what was going on at CPAC, and they brought up an interesting point, which is that these people, when they are, in particular, when they are surrounded by what they know to be a friendly crowd, they sound like cultists. Why do they sound like that? Because that is exactly what they are. Check out the bite model. They are a cult. That simple. However, they do have a weakness that is fascinating. This weakness is that everything they say, every accusation that they say, is a confession. And in fact, everything they say they should do to the left is a prescription for how they should be handled. Everything they say the left is doing is what they are doing, and everything they say should be done to the left is the best way to deal with them, or at least the way they see that they should be dealt with. Let's start by having a listen to what they said in one of the latest live streams from the Midas Touch Network.
They see the comment and they're like, oh, we need to engage in these acts. And so what you see at Cult Pack is the cult performance. Like if you remove for a second that this is
ritual.
A political party, right? And just assume that this is going on in Jonestown, right? And you said this is a group of people, they're meeting, and here are the things that they are talking about. So let's do this hypothetical with me for a second, right? Remove the idea that this is even a political party, because there really isn't. It's a cult. And put yourself that you're watching this play out in an island where the cult lives, and it's a cult retreat. And now watch what Scott Perry, one of the cult elders, has to say. Play this clip where he says, I don't even know what he's talking about, but just play this clip.
Real quick word on Scott Perry. Scott Perry seems to have been involved in the insurrection. Scott Perry should be in prison right now. If this was a lawful country, Scott Perry would be in prison right now. Bear in mind that this guy is supposed to be behind bars when you hear what he's going to say. He shouldn't be able to say it, at least not to that crowd, at least not without a video call, because he should be currently located in a jail cell for insurrection, for being a traitor to the country. But do bear in mind as well the context that this is a cult, as Ben Meiselas just said. Listen to how it sounds.
You can't buy a gas stove, but that you must buy an electric vehicle. That you can't go to work, but you must put some experimental potion in your arm and then keep showing up to do that, to visit your church or worship. Our personal sovereignty is what this nation was built on, and it's the foundation. It is under assault by every single facet of the government, and as Ralph has said, we are going to create a firestorm. Look, if it's up to me, there's going to be a firestorm. These leftists, these Marxists that have prevailed upon the American people and used the awesome power of the federal government to cow us into fear in our homes, they've got to be put on notice. They've got to be quaking in fear. They've got to be worried. They've got to be losing weight because they're not eating, because they're worried that they're going to end up going to jail for using the awesome power of the federal government. And if they're not interested in showing up in Mr. Jordan's hearing, you know what? I'm in charge now on the Transportation Committee of Federal Leases. Isn't that something? I wonder whose leases might be coming. Well, we're taking a look at the list. It's going to be awesome when they go from a big building to about, I don't know, that space on the square there.
So this cultist says that they should be afraid. They should be under assault from the awesome power of the federal government. He says they, as in the left, as in what he calls the left, what the rest of us call sane Americans, people who are outside of their cult, what they should be afraid of is the federal government. He says he's going to use his authority to attack them any way he can. Folks, it's a prescription. We need to be pushing for our leaders, sane leaders, to use any means necessary to deal with these people because they are traitors. They're laughing. They're in suits. They're on a fancy-looking stage. That doesn't mean they aren't a danger to our country. In fact, they are an existential threat to our country, and they must be dealt with by any means necessary. Now, to a lefty, that means actually getting involved in the government. That means actually using whatever tools we can to get them. And that means pressuring, of course, the Department of Justice, our corrupt Department of Justice, to prosecute them. And as we are waiting for that, we must also use every lever of power we have to shut them down in every way we can. His ass should be in prison, yes. And his power should be curbed as much as possible, leading up to that. Encourage fight in your representatives. Encourage them to be as belligerent to these cultists as the cultists are to everyone else. Because we require it. That is the firmness we must use to deal with them. They're not just using hyperbole either. Let me show you the kind of things they are doing at the state level, the way they are willing to use power to attack the left. Let me show you. And remember that every action they take, every action they say they should do, is in fact a prescription for how to deal with them. Check this out.
Florida has been increasingly red in recent years and increasingly radical along with it. The Republicans have their favorite governor in Ron DeSantis, and they apparently feel so emboldened that they're pretty much done tolerating the Democratic Party. And I don't mean that in metaphoric terms. I mean that they're pushing to banish it. No more Democratic Party in Florida. This is wild. This is being pursued by Senator Blaise Ingoglia, Republican of Spring Hill, has this new bill, SB 1248. It doesn't mention the word Democrat or Democratic, but let's see if we can figure out how it's talking about them. It's the ultimate cancel act, according to him. It would decertify any political party that ever included a plank to support slavery in its platform, something the Democratic Party did between 1844 and 1864, which I imagine is a year or two ago. After this is passed, registered voters of that party would receive notices from the state that their party had been canceled and that they're now no party voters for the canceled Democratic Party. They could re-register as long as the name is substantially different from the name of any other party previously registered. So what you should understand is that.
Hold on. So let's just take, and I know John Idarola is about to break it down. We'll get there in a second. Let's just take the prescription there. Let's read what they are saying right there and use it. They are saying that they must cancel the Democratic Party at the state level, because that's a state level rep saying, let's boot them out of the state. This is a person who is looking at his own party, this Blaise Ingoglia, whatever the hell. He's looking at his own party. And he is thinking, this is what they should do to us because we're this bad. He is saying, because of the Democratic stance on slavery back in the 1860s, because of that, and following the 1860s, Democrats were evil Because of that, they should be booted out. He knows damn well that he would have been a Democrat back then and all of us would have been Republicans because there was a party switch. It happened about a century later. It was completed, I should say, about a century later in the 1960s. It started in the decades before that with the Southern strategy. So he is, in fact, writing a prescription for his own ideology, and he knows that. And he is doing that to try to get headlines. He's doing that to try to wow MAGA fanatics. But I ask you this. How ridiculous is that thought? Is that a bad strategy? Banning an organization that is contrary to American beliefs. I don't mean American beliefs as in what the average American necessarily believes. I mean American beliefs as in the way we've agreed to set up our democracy. If you don't follow that path, if you're not playing by those rules, well, can you be a participant? We're going to go into that a little bit more because this man, I believe, has indeed given us a prescription for how he and his party should be dealt with. Let's let them dig their own grave a little deeper.
Blaise Ngoglia wants you to believe that this is him being clever or joking around. The issue is that it's not funny. He clearly supports the fascist destruction of his political opponents and thinks that this is a clever way to do it. Just to destroy the Democratic Party outright to make some sort of point about how Democrats are canceling too much. It's undercut a little bit by the fact that the Republican Party is going around Florida trying to find literally every book they can to set fire to. So that's sort of an issue, as well as pushing entire communities into the shadows. So if you want to make a clever point about cancellation, maybe look in the mirror there in Ngoglia. But anyway, we're gonna have more quotes from him. JR, what do you think about what they're trying to do?
Well, this is the thing. He's going to be embarrassed when he discovers that, as he's pointing out, the Democratic Party in that time frame had that plank into their, in their party plans or agenda that included slavery, right? He's going to be really upset when he discovers that the current folks in his party also support those types of things. In fact, they support the things that came from it. They still support police with qualified immunity as they beat and kill people that they think they can beat and kill and have this level of immunity. So the prison systems and the way that we incarcerate people and our judicial system and the way it's biased against certain other folks, all born from that evil moment back in the day that he's trying to make sure is decertified from that party. So it's grown from there. So I would hope, in being the principled Republican that he is, that he'll continue to be against all the things that came from it. But first, he's gonna have to discover that those things did come from it, and that we have many systems in our society that are based off of those rules and those platforms from way back in the day. He's gonna be really upset when he has to discover the people that he's trying to decertify have grown into the people that he surrounded himself with. And after he looks in the mirror, he's gonna go, oh, it's me too. He knows this, his supporters know it, and it's the same ploy over and over and over again to act like, you know what the party did back in the day?
Yeah.
Who's supporting it now? What are your supporters saying about these types of debates and things now? When someone says Black Lives Matter, or when they say maybe you should stop murdering black folks indiscriminately and think you can get away with it. When people say those things, and then you, who was against the discrimination and enslavement of Black Americans here, are now saying that this is a problem. You're gonna have to be consistent, because I guess if we flesh this out, we'll see who you really are.
100%. Look, if you want to acknowledge that the Democrats 160 years ago did this, I think that's a great point. We should understand that history. You don't even have to go back 160 years to have issues with the racial politics of the Democratic Party. You don't have to go back a year. Let's have that conversation. But if you're aggrieved by the fact that the Democrats were this way 160 years ago, why doesn't it bother you that your base is that way now, like right now, as JR is pointing out? And by the way, this isn't like some wild speculation. You guys can't go a day without minimizing the horrors of slavery. You get off on trying to say that it really wasn't that bad. Ask Americans at large what they think about different racial groups. And you can see that there's plenty of racism to go around, certainly, but clustered amongst Republicans is a horrendous grouping of racial stereotypes against not only Black Americans, but basically everyone else. And so all of this is out there, Blaze, take a look at it. And by the way, I just want to respond to one of his comments. He says, for years now, leftist activists have been trying to cancel people and companies for things they've said or done in the past. First of all, you are so excited about the fact that Ron DeSantis is attacking Disney for having a same-sex cartoon kiss. So again, glass houses. Anyway, this includes the removal of statues and memorials and the renaming of buildings. Using this standard, it would be hypocritical not to cancel the Democratic Party itself for the same thing.
Okay. For years now, leftist activists have been trying to cancel people and companies for things they have said or done in the past. First of all, it's partially true. Depends what they mean by cancel. But yeah, organizing boycotts, not only is that true, that is something we should do more of because it does work. One of the rare times I've truly disagreed with the Majority Report is when they had a guy on saying that, oh, this isn't an effective technique. Not so. I give you the OGL gaming license controversy. If you're unfamiliar, I've done a couple videos on that. But in short, boycotts work. Wizards of the Coast, the people who make Dungeons & Dragons, had a certain gaming license that they allowed people to use but had the right to revoke at any time. And then they said, after decades of it being profitable for all involved, they were going to revoke it. Because Hasbro bought Wizards of the Coast. Hasbro is a soulless corporation. They wanted more money. And as happens time and again with neoliberalism, they were short-sighted. And they wanted more money immediately. Never mind how beneficial the OGL was for decades and decades to Wizards of the Coast. There was a mass boycott and it worked. We should be doing more boycotts, organized boycotts. I would like this network in my dreams to be an organizer of specific boycotts. But in the meantime, do be on the lookout for organizations that are organizing boycotts and join them and be vocal about it. Okay. This includes the removal of statues and memorials. You're goddamn right. Statues to traitors, memorials to slave owners, get them out of here. They should be gone, and there is not enough demand for that. What an insult it is to somebody who has to attend a school. Imagine a young black kid has to attend a school named in honor of someone that would have him live in chains, that would put her in the field to pick cotton because that is all that person believed they were good for. What an insult. And in those same states that tend to do that, they are demanding that black history get yanked out of the curriculum because their fifis get hurt. Because apparently white people can't stand to hear about the sins of their past and are insistent upon repeating those sins right now in the present. The hell with them. Remove those statues. Rename those buildings. Do not honor the dishonorable. Using this standard, he said it would be hypocritical not to cancel the Democratic Party itself for the same reason. We disagree on only one word there. Only one word. Can you guess which word in that last sentence, in that last portion that I disagree with? Using this standard, it would be hypocritical not to cancel, as in shut down, as in get rid of, the Democratic Party itself for the same reason. What is the one word you think I disagree with there? The one word I would change about that statement? I'm going to tell you at the end.
Yeah, but it's not the same thing. You're talking about something that was 160 years ago, not a monument right now to that thing. That's the difference. But anyway, he says that the legislation is in response to leftist activists calling for the removal of blah, blah, blah. some people want to have uncomfortable conversations about certain subjects. Let's have those conversations. No, but see, you're saying that in an, I can't say the word I want to say, an essy little way. That's how you're saying, let's have it. But you don't actually want to have it. We want to have it. That's the whole, that's the whole philosophical underpinning of being woke, is acknowledging these inconvenient truths and understanding things that aren't necessarily super comfortable to you. We do actually want to have that conversation. You very much don't. That's why you guys are going around to universities and schools around the state and literally banning the teaching of these things, stripping literature out of those libraries. Don't pretend that you want to have uncomfortable conversations. Your entire political ideology is based around not being exposed for even a microsecond to the least inconvenient of facts, potentially. We're ready to acknowledge the truth, the historic truth of the Democratic Party and the Republican Party and America at large, and we're also willing to do it right now. Don't pretend that you have even one bit of those philosophical cojones.
All right. Ingoglia knows how vile the Republican Party is. He knows he is only trying to rile up his base. He knows damn well that the book burnings are Orwellian. He is willing to participate in that. He is a fascist. Let's turn this on its head. Contact your state representative and ask them to pass a bill similar to Florida's SB 1248. Ask them that it be changed in one way to instead ban any party whose current membership are shown to have participated in the insurrection. Theirs is ridiculous because what it proposes to care about is contrary to what it would actually accomplish. They don't actually care about the fact that black people were once enslaved and that we have a political party with a legacy of supporting that. Because he is part of the political movement that supported that. He knows we've just changed hats. That's all. That's what makes his ridiculous. But reversed, that proposal is not so ridiculous. Reversed, our proposal can come from a place of sincerity. I genuinely do not believe we should allow there to be a political party that works to get terrorist traitors put in office. Let me say that again. I don't believe that we should allow a political party that supports traitors to exist within our states. Would we allow Al-Qaeda to have a political party in the US? Of course not. Would we allow ISIS to have such a party in the US? No. We'd say you're not political organizers. You're criminals. Let's make it more blatant. Would we allow the Mafia Party to exist? No. We would not. We would legislate them out. We can go easy on them. Include a 60-day window wherein the party may choose to remain on the ballot by expelling those members who participated in the insurrection. We have people from my state who ran for office, some of which who got into office, who were there, who were part of that 10,000 traitors that tried to stop the certification of an election in the United States. Some of them are in office. If we give them a 60-day window from the enacting of the bill to expel those who were involved, who they know were involved, and who we may later find out were involved, who we don't yet know were there, or who we do not yet know were passing messages between Rudy Giuliani and the false electors in 7 states. If we give them that 60-day window, we may get the GOP to do some of our work for us as they desperately boot out the traitors we didn't even know about. You could even sell it to centrists by playing on that ridiculous notion, that Pelosi notion of needing a strong Republican Party. I don't think we need a strong fascist party, but MAGA weakens the Republican Party. It makes it more dangerous, it makes it more harmful, but it also does make it weaker. We can play to the centrists. We can pitch it to them by saying, look, that 60-day window gives this party the incentive and the opportunity to get rid of traitors. There's a chance that might actually get passed, but that's not really the goal. The goal is to get our legislators used to the idea of fighting mean. The January 6th committee was so effective because, in part, they had right-wingers on the team. They had GOP on the team. They had the party of knifing people in the side on the team. We need that kind of ferocity. We need progressive politics with right-wing politicking. On that note, I'm going to start following one lesson from Reagan. That lesson is, thou shalt not attack thine own party. His 11th commandment. I've misquoted it, but still. I'm going to go easier and easier on lefties. There will eventually be a place where I will welcome friendly debate, because I think that's necessary. But let's focus, quite correctly, our energy where it can do the most good. Let's get our legislators used to fighting mean. Give it some thought. The wording, as well as the link to contact your representative, is in the description below. I would love to see a state successfully ban the traitor party. Would you?